We'll start off with the away team, and that is, of course, Green Bay. And they have the biggest advantage of this game, in my opinion, even though it's not a super big discrepancy in talent. They have tier 2 Jordan Love over tier 3 Geno Smith. And I have a ton of respect for both of these quarterbacks. I think they're both fantastic. But for me, Love is in that top 10 conversation. He might be closer to 10 than he is 1, but he is definitely in that sort of discussion. And Geno Smith is a steady above average quarterback. I don't know exactly where I'd place him just in my personal ranking. I know where the numbers I use have him placed at, but he is a definitive above average quarterback. That I know for sure. And he is on the cusp of being top 10. So there is a bit of a difference there, though, with kind of the tiers. And I think that Love just has such a different wide range of outcomes where he might be the best quarterback one week and he might be average the next week. So he's going to give you a lot of different outcomes, whereas Geno Smith is going to be right around maybe that 12th best in most cases. The next thing for Green Bay is that they have elite pass protection. I'm talking maybe the best in the entire league versus a bad Seattle pass rush. So Jordan Love is going to have all day to figure out what the defense is in. And that's going to be, I think, a pretty major story of this game if Mike McDonald can get some sort of pressure. That's going to be huge for Seattle. If not, that's really going to be problematic for them. So I think that's really going to be one of the telltale signs of this game. Next, we have a weird one, as I'm referring to their player as meh, but we have Romeo Doubs being meh, and that is greater than the terrible Josh Jobe, who just is really lacking in coverage prowess. So I will take a guy that's about mediocre all day over a guy that is really bad, and that's what Jobe is. The next and final advantage for the Green Bay offense is that they have the above average Tucker Kraft against a mediocre Ernest Jones. He is also meh, I would say. He is good as a run defender for sure. He can really thump in that regard, and he can also blitz really well. But he's not great in coverage, and I think that's going to be taken advantage of by Tucker Kraft, who can really run some nice routes and is a solid enough run blocker too that he's not going to get destroyed by Jones, even though Jones will probably win most of the matchups. As we shift now to the defense, we have solid Rashawn Gary against a poor Abraham Lucas. Lucas, at his best, is much better than poor. It was his rookie year, I believe, where he was very good, but he is not producing all that well this year. I believe he's been injured for much of the year, so that's a chunk of it. But it's going to be advantageous for the Packers to have Gary, who has superstar potential and can put it on display in any given game against a lackluster tackle in Lucas. Next, we have the average-ish Kenny Clark versus a bad interior offensive line. Center and right guard are really struggles for Seattle. Laken Tomlinson at left guard is pretty good, but 2/3 of the interior is not. And that's going to be problematic because Clark is a solid player. The final advantage for the Packers is that they have stud safeties who can prevent the long ball, which is something that Seattle thrives in. All three of their receivers can get after the long ball, DK Metcalf especially. I'd say it goes Metcalf, JSN, Jackson Smith and Jigba, that is, and then Tyler Lockett. But all three of them are more than capable of getting a deep ball, and Geno Smith is more than willing to put up a prayer for them. So that's nice, but it's not going to be too much of a thing against these great safeties. As we shift now to Seattle, if you enjoy this video, make sure you like and subscribe for more NFL content. With that out of the way, we have Seattle's first advantage being that they have a quality Jackson Smith and Jigba versus a lacking Jonathan Bullard. I believe that's the Bullard. I might be confusing him with a defensive lineman Bullard, but I believe it's that one. And I know for a fact that he's not particularly good. So he is a struggling nickelback safety kind of hybrid. He is not great in coverage, so that is going to be put to the test even more by Jackson Smith and Jigba, who has such a fantastic name. I love that name. Then we have another advantage for them on offense being that they have a mid Noah Fant against below average linebackers. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. When I say below average, I mean they are rather below average. They are not just sort of below average, as in, like, there's 60 of linebackers, say, and they are ranked as the 31st best. I mean, they are rather below average. And that's what we get with the Packers linebackers. So that's pretty advantageous for the Seahawks to have a middling tight end with upside against below average linebackers. Shifting to the defense now, we have the stud Leonard Williams versus a poor interior offensive line that will struggle to run block. They're not great at run blocking to begin with. I would say they're rather poor in that regard. They're all more pass blocking specialists, but that's really going to be problematic for them against Williams, who's just a fantastic space eater. He can just absorb contact and not give up an inch. He is so good. And he also really pressured nicely too. So that will be the guy that the Packers have to sell out to stop, because there's not too much else in the pass rushing department that they have to be weary of. But Williams is enough of a game wrecker himself that if he doesn't get handled, that's going to be a big issue. The next advantage is that the Seahawks have good Boye Mafe against a lacking run blocking capability of Rasheed Walker. He is a fantastic pass protector, like every other Green Bay lineman, seemingly, but he is not good in run blocking. And Mafe is going to make it difficult to run to that entire side because he is such a good edge setter, and Walker is just not going to get much of a push as well. The final advantage for them that is team related is that the Seahawks also have a good safety duo. I would say it's just above average. It's not the second best in the league like the Packers perhaps have, but it is good. And that's going to be able to slow down the deep passing of Green Bay as well, with like Christian Watson, for example. That's the main one. Romeo Doubs has some capabilities to win deep. Then Reed as well. He has some abilities, but Not quite as much as what Watson has, because Watson's just such an athletic freak. And now for the final advantage, the Seahawks have home field advantage. And they have a good home field advantage. The Seahawks fans are great. The 12th man is still a thing there, and they are very rowdy. So that's a pretty big one. I'm going to go with the Packers here because I like that they have the better quarterback. Yes, I'm a little bit nervous because his outcomes are all over the place, but I like Jordan Love a bit more than I like Geno Smith. And I think that the pass protection is really going to be problematic for Seattle. They might play the best coverage imaginable, and it still might not be enough. Those are my thoughts on the game. Be sure to let me know what yours are in the comment section, and also be sure to like and subscribe for more football content.